All right, how's it going, guys? I didn't feel like trying to throw together a rough edit or figure out what to put in the background, so we should throw on the webcam. So you get to look at my ugly mug for my final, at least for now, review of the Bloodline. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I have immense respect for the dev. Is an incredibly ambitious project, and I do think there's a lot of potential there. Now, that being said, the review is going to be largely negative. I need to be honest. So I cut off pretty abruptly in playing the series and recording videos for it, in part because I've been very busy with college and other things. But on top of that, I kind of ran into a problem. Um, I wanted to play ahead a little bit unrecorded because things were kind of slow going and I didn't want to just record meandering and stuff like that. So I played ahead to get a better feel for the game and be able to show off things that I liked about it. There are a lot of positive aspects of the game, but to be truthful, as a whole, it feels pretty hollow. Um, I see what's happening here because I do some game dev myself. I never release anything, but I like to work on games. And often I end up shelving ideas or throwing stuff that I've worked on away because it's very easy to get passionate about a game that you're making and make the scale so much greater than you could ever really do. And it's just unfeasible. So I understand how it goes. I do think that's kind of happened here. The game's been in development for a long time, and it is being added on to. But from what I've seen, none of the additions are really solving what I find to be the issue with the game, which is that nothing feels full. There's a whole bunch of stuff in it, but every one of those elements just doesn't feel fun to interact with, in my opinion. For example, I was really excited to see there was druid stuff. I've always been a huge fan of druids in any RPG that I play, mostly because the class often has kind of a variety to what it does. There's often elemental options in some games, lean more into the shapeshifting aspect of it. Here in the Bloodline, I felt that it all felt pretty uninteresting. For example, you could turn into a wolf, but I mean, you've got a single attack animation. You do one thing as the wolf, really. From what I'd seen, maybe there's more, but from what I could tell, there wasn't. Same thing with the other transformations, of which there are a few, and also they're a limited time thing, which to me doesn't fit the idea of the game very well because a lot of the game seems to be centered around freedom. You can just go out and do whatever. It's a little zany, it's a little wacky, a little janky, and that's cool. But the design here doesn't lend towards that. It felt pretty restrictive and just generally not exciting to do. So I looked at some of the other classes. Namely, I went to the kind of mage college setup they've got. That felt pretty interesting. It had a cool entrance to it. Like it was neat going into the mana chamber, and then you have to have enough mana. It'll slowly drain you. And if you don't, I assume you fail the quest. But I did walking in. Um, and it felt really cool. And then I started walking around, and there really wasn't a whole lot going on. Things were pretty uninteractive. I tried being an electric mage for a second. The little puzzle game they have sitting in the back where you have to memorize the sigils is okay, but it kind of felt like, why? I guess the idea is quick reactions. What it mentioned is that if you're an electric mage, it's a speed thing, maybe, but this was purely memory based. I don't know. It didn't feel super enticing to me, and I burned off of it pretty quick. And the spells that I unlocked, because by the way, it's super fast. You can level these up pretty fast. I mean, you can go up the tree pretty quick, um, just standing around in the college, and none of the spells felt interesting at all, to be honest. Um, and same with other things I tried. Like I hopped off of the unarmed combat as well because it just felt kind of, I don't know, unfun, to be truthful. Like I played it. I mean, you saw in the videos. That's the one I did most of that with. There was parts that were funny and that were kind of interesting at the start, but then it just got super repetitive almost instantly. Um, I found no real reason to pivot between my abilities that much when um, you can just kick people over pretty easily, and it works the same on pretty much everything, which could be cool and zany, but at the same time, it takes away a lot of the part of combat that I think keeps it engaging, which is the potential to fail, which I had initially before I figured out how to use the abilities. But as soon as I got that going, it was. Oh, hold on, I was just checking something. Um, anyways, yeah, I don't know. Not super into the combat. That's the starting problem. Other than that, too, there was a whole lot of just putting placeholders in the game, which is fine because the game is massive, but that's also kind of the problem. Um, First of all, the game is 19.99. That's not cheap. It's also not the most expensive. It's not definitely not the most I've spent on an indie game that is unfinished. But it's been in dev for so long, and I get worried, wondering if they could ever really finish this because this is a game that, in concept, I feel like a AAA company with a ton of employees would have some trouble finishing, at least in the way that the game is proposed. Um, for example, you look at the map, there's so much, but everything just as you travel around, there's really not much there. There's not much within. So it looks huge in scale, but then there's a lot of emptiness. This is the same kind of criticism that really any space game has gotten. Just anything that you can think of, No Man's Sky initially, as well as and the name is escaping me, but I did play quite a bit of the Bethesda one. Whatever the case may be. And that really took the wind out of my sails as I wandered around and found more and more that I just was uninterested in what I was doing. And it got to a point that I had no desire to continue playing the game. I just never found anything that I really felt like flipping the camera on to record after some of my initial fun with like the ragdolling and stuff. Um, and I want to say too, I don't want this. This is coming off pretty scathing. I don't want it to come off that way because I do think, like I said earlier, there's a lot of potential here. There's many aspects of the game that I think are awesome and that can be awesome. But if I were to be asked, would I recommend someone purchase this game? I'd have to be truthful and say no. Um, Not even a little bit, if I'm being honest. And I hate to say that because one of the things I wanted to set out to do with this channel is support indie devs and push these incredible games that I feel like get less eyes on them forward. But the Bloodline, as it is, I just can't. I really respect the ambition. I respect the vision. I see where it could go. And I also recognize that solo dev is incredibly hard, but that's why I feel like it's important when you're selling a product as a solo dev to keep your scale somewhat reasonable so that you can keep up with it. You know, I don't know. True. I hope that they do succeed. I'm wishing for their success in developing the bloodline further and that it achieves all that it can be. But for me at the moment, I just can't play it anymore. Um, so this is going to be the end of the series in regards to the bloodline. Maybe if there's a bunch of really incredible updates in the future and they shore up all these issues, I'd love to come back and check it out again. Not that it matters. I mean, I'm not some big YouTuber, so who cares? But just to be candid, yeah, I won't be playing it anymore moving forward until there's a drastic change in the game. And that being said, please don't take what I'm saying as your sole, you know, perspective on the game, which I doubt it is because it's been out for a while. But please, look around and check things out because as anything goes with any artistic property or, any kind of entertainment, it's all subjective for the most part. And there's objective elements, but generally people enjoy different things. So where I might not have enjoyed it, you might genuinely love the game. But I do recommend checking out some videos and stuff before you jump in from other people just in case. But, anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.